My name is Zachary Fox, and I help students prepare for these exams and help educate families and students about these exams. I come from Paris, but we have people in Geneva who help students. And so today I'm just going to run you through the difference between the two tests to help you guys get a sense of which test may be better for you, right? I'll move quickly. The SAT and the ACT is not incredibly interesting. Sometimes it's boring, but for a lot of American universities you need to take the test, right? So, this is the history. We're not going to do too much of this because it's too much information. But the most important parts of this are that the SAT has been around since World War I, right? It's not a new test. Many, many people have taken it before you. Many people after you will take it. And then if we jump down here to 2013, the ACT becomes more popular than the SAT for the first time, right? What does that mean? That means that the SAT will change their test to be very similar to the ACT because they're in competition with each other, right? Okay, this is the ACT, right? So test 1, ACT. There's English, math, reading, and science, okay? 45 minutes, 60 minutes, 35 minutes, 35 minutes. The essay is optional, they say, but when you take the test, you should take the essay. Because some universities will want to see it, and because you don't know which universities you'll apply to, you should take the essay to make sure that you can apply, okay? The other important thing here is the science section is not science. It's not physics, it's not biology, it's not chemistry. It has nothing to do with what you consider to be science. It's just about reading graphs. So if you're not a good science student, it doesn't necessarily mean that the ACT isn't the right test for you. There we go. Okay, scoring. We're going to go by this real quickly. The important thing to know is that the ACT is out of 36, right? A 36 is a perfect score. It's very, very hard to get a 36. And I usually have this slide up to tell parents, do not push your kid to get a 36. It's nearly impossible. Okay? If you get one question wrong on the science section out of 40, you often drop from a 36 to a 33. One question. So this is just here to say, to be reasonable in your expectations and to tell your parents to be reasonable in their expectations. Okay, here we go. ACT English. When you have the answer to question 1, raise your hand. I headed off on my journey not knowing what I was going to find. When I stepped out of the Dakar airport, it was nearly 100 degrees. The midday sun was scorching. Okay, question 1. Is it F, no change, G, degrees, semicolon in the midday sun, H, degrees from the midday sun, J, degrees and the midday sun? I should see hands by now. This is speed. Yes? G, degrees, semicolon, the midday sun. Are we all in agreement? Are we all in agreement?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, we are all now 0 for 1. The answer is J, degrees and the midday sun. The reason why is it doesn't matter. For these tests, you don't need to correct yourself. You don't need to know why. You can read it out loud and you can hear the difference and go with that answer. Right? The reason it's J is you don't need a pause there. The sentence is stronger without a pause. But you get the point. Oh. Okay, ACT Math. Who's got the answer? We'll give away a bag for this answer. Who has the answer? Which of the following is a value of x that satisfies x log of x 36 equals 2? Yes?
B.
B, 6. Here's the bag, that's correct. Was that question difficult for you? No. If you know logarithms, this question takes less than 30 seconds. If you don't know logarithms, this question is impossible. You cannot reason your way to an answer of this. This is the ACT. If you know your math and you know the formulas, you'll be okay. It's like a test in school. The SAT gives you the formulas and then tries to trick you, right? So that's the difference between the tests. ACT reading. What is the answer to question 11? I'm just joking. You can't see. The point of this is, how long do you have to do this? How long do you have to read this and answer those questions? 35? Anyone else? Any other guesses? We'll give another bag. Who's ever closest? 35? What else? 5? 20? 25. Okay. 5 is the closest. There you go. Pass that to him. You have 8 minutes, right? This is not enough time to read this. Any person who sat down with this text and sat down at their kitchen table and read it normally like a human being, it would probably take 20 minutes. So that's a fair guess. The point is that you have to learn how to read these texts, and you can't read them from start to finish. For the ACT, people usually read the first sentence and the last sentence of each paragraph, and then look at the questions and see if they can answer them that way. If they can't, then they'll go back to the paragraph. Alright, we're not going to go through all of the questions, but the point of this slide, Marianne began now to perceive that the desperation which had seized her at 16 and a half of ever seeing a man who could satisfy her ideas of perfection had been rash and unjustifiable. Can we get the answer from that? J, right? We don't have to read that entire passage to get the answer. Right? You just need to read part of it and then you can get the answer. ACT reading in context, line 17, circumscribe means. We could jump right to 17, read 2 lines above, and that can get us the answer, right? These are just slides to point out that the ACT doesn't give you time to read entire sections the way you would a book. This is science, right? This is what ACT science looks like. You'll see that it's based on charts and graphs. And I'm not going to make you do any of these questions, but up here it says, according to experiment 1, as the molarity of sodium increases, the time it takes to react, what? Right? So this doesn't require you to have prior knowledge of any of this. It's just about reading the graphs and seeing, as one thing goes up, what happens to the other. Right? And this is sort of a clearer picture of this question. Right? Does anyone want to try that first question? According to experiment 1, as the molarity of sodium increases, the time it takes to react, what? Right? And down here we have reaction time, and down here we have the concentration. Decreases? Yeah. Right? Not too difficult. Yeah? Okay, SAT. This is the structure of the SAT. You have a 65-minute reading section, a 35-minute writing section, 25-minute math section without a calculator, and a 55-minute section of math with a calculator. Right? The difference here is that there's a section without a calculator. On the ACT, you get a calculator the whole test. If you struggle to do math, addition, subtraction, multiplication without a calculator, then this section will be difficult for you. Right? Alright, scoring. A perfect score is a 1600. You get 400 points for writing your name. So if you get a 450, it's not great, right? And similarly to the ACT, it's very, very hard to get a perfect score. Expectations should be reasonable. If you miss one question, you'll probably drop between 1550 and 1530, right? So that's sort of what we're looking at here, right? You do not get penalized for guessing. If you run out of time, you should be guessing on every question. And again, the essay is not part of your overall score. They say it's optional, but just similarly to the ACT, you should take the essay. Okay, we'll do one in there, right? These are just tricks that you'll learn as you prepare for these tests, which will help you move at the speed you need to move. Here's the SAT equivalent of the science section on the ACT, right? It's graphs. It's not complicated, it's just about your ability to read graphs. What would be the answer to this? We have The graph following the passage, right? So this is a graphed version of the gift giving. The graph following the passage offers evidence that gift givers base their predictions on how much a gift will be appreciated on. What do you guys think?
B.
Yeah, right? And the trick they try to give you there is the gift givers base their money on, right? Good. All right, we're going to move through these. The reason this is up here is to show you that these tests are increasingly similar. This type of question, which is what we saw at the beginning of the ACT test, basically gives you passages, underlines the passages, and then asks you to correct the sentences to make them stronger. Any questions so far? No? We're good? Alright. This is where the SAT gets a bit different. The math is a bit harder on the SAT. It goes a bit more into deeper subjects than the ACT. And they also give you these sort of wordy math problems that require you to extract what's actually math, right, from this equation. Kathy is a repair technician for a phone company. I'm not going to make you do this during your whatever period this is. It's not math. But the point is that you have to be able to sort of look at a long word problem and take the math equation out of it, right? This type of question would not be on the ACT. Problem solving and data analysis, right? This is the type of question that, with practice, will be sort of the easiest part of the test for you. But this just requires you to look at a table and to figure out what they're asking you, right? So here they're asking you, which of the following best approximates the average rate of change on the annual budget for agricultural resources? And you essentially will just go to the table, figure out what they're asking you. You'll have a calculator, and you'll be fine with that. Again, this is a question you will not find on the ACT. They will not ask you about polynomials, and they will not ask you to do questions like this. This is the toughest math questions that are on either test, and this is only on the SAT. We're going to skip that. Okay, this is sort of the main similarities and differences between the two tests. There's no wrong answer on either test, no penalty. So if you don't know the answer, or if you're running out of time, you guess, always. The essay is optional, although you should be taking it. Well, it's all there. I don't need to read them all out loud. I think I've covered most of them. These are the big differences. The calculator not allowed on the math section, and deeper math mastery required for the SAT. Right? Okay, this is way too much information, but it can be helpful. This is the amount of time you have for each question, right? And it seems like, about half a second, a little less than half a second. Well, yeah, 0.4 seconds is not a lot of time, right? But over the course of an exam, when you have 60 questions, it makes a big difference. So the SAT is a much slower test. Okay? It's a bit more complicated what they're asking you, but you have more time. The ACT is a test which is much more straightforward, but it requires you to move at a much quicker pace. Right? So for students who have trouble reading quickly, the ACT is often not a good test for them. If you're a fast reader, the ACT can be a great test for you. Okay, when should you take these tests? Most people take these tests in year 12. The earliest that most of the students we work with take these tests is December of year 12. There is not really a reason to be taking it in year 11, unless you're an exceptional student or you are a top-level athlete who may get a scholarship to play sports in college. Because coaches will often want to see your scores the summer of your year 11, so before year 12. But otherwise, you guys should be studying and preparing, and then taking it either in December of year 12 or March or May, right? ACT or SAT? For now, what you guys should do is figure out which test is better for you. It's not, you don't have to guess. There's a diagnostic test which is half SAT, half ACT. There's SAT tests on Khan Academy. There's 6 free tests. There's free tests on ACT.org. There are free tests all over the place, which are put out by these testing companies. And what you should do is you should either take a diagnostic or take one of each and see your scores. There are calculators online that will tell you which is higher comparatively, and you'll know which test you should take, right? It's not anything you have to guess about. And that's what you want to do now. You want to figure out which test you should be preparing for. And you shouldn't take the real test until you're ready. If you're interested in seeing how you'll do not sign up for the real SAT in March or May. Take a mock exam, right? The mock exams are the same exams that you would take on the real testing day, but they're practice tests. The real test should be reserved for when you're ready to take the real test. We could skip this for now. Mock tests. This is the SAT book. Those same tests are online at Khan Academy if you want to print them out, if you don't want to get the book. That's the ACT book. There are mock exams. There's a mock exam at LGB on February 19th. There are mock exams around. Ideally, you would take it in an uncomfortable room with other students who are coughing, who are chewing gum, who are distracting you, who smell bad. You don't take these tests at your kitchen table with a Coke and a sandwich and your phone. So you want to put yourself in the position of what it's like to take the real test. They're long, they're 4.5 hours. At times they're very boring. It's very hard to concentrate for that long. So what you want to do is you want to get accustomed now to focusing for that long. And the only way to do that is to practice. This is what a score report looks like from a diagnostic. So you're able to sort of see which questions you got correct and incorrect. And then after that, you sort of have 4 or 5 pages telling you exactly what you need to work on. The goal of preparation is to systematically remove any areas of the test that you're having problems on. And the only way to continually do that is with sort of mock exams. Read, especially in year 11. If you're not ready to start sort of preparation for these tests, you just need to read a lot on paper, right? Not off of screens or phones. And you want to practice doing it for 30 minutes at a time. So if you're sitting down to read an article from the New York Times or the New Yorker or the Economist or even Golf Magazine if you like golf or Skiing Magazine if you like skiing, this doesn't need to be a painful process. You can read things you like, but set a timer for 30 minutes and don't move because, and not just you, including I think everyone now rarely sits uninterrupted for 30 minutes and reads. It's also a skill that you want to sort of be working on. There you go. Those are examples. SAT subject tests. I'm only going to touch on this briefly. Mark will be better able to instruct you based on the universities you're applying to. But certain universities demand subject tests, certain universities don't, right? The reason this slide is here is to say that it changes based on the university, and universities change, right? They'll change whether they want it or not. Georgetown requires 3. Yale says if you're taking the ACT with writing, it's recommended but not required. So every university has different thoughts on these tests. So it's worth, once you have your list, figuring out if you need them or not. Okay, and then you guys can stay calm. You guys have a lot of time. You have a lot of time as well, even though you're in year 12. There's still time. You don't need these tests, too, is the other thing. There are a lot of very, very strong, excellent American universities that do not require these tests. NYU doesn't require these tests anymore. Middlebury doesn't require these tests anymore. Northeastern doesn't require these tests anymore. There's an increasing number of schools that don't require these tests, right? A lot do, so it's just worth thinking about, your list. Do you need these tests? Most of you will, but not all of you will. And then setting up a schedule going forward, because they're offered on particular dates, right? So they're offered about 5 times a year, each of them, and you want to plan ahead for when you'll take them, so you can prepare adequately. We have classes, a lot of classes in Geneva at LGB. If there's interest, we can perhaps have one here. You don't need to prepare with us, but you definitely need to prepare. You can prepare on Khan Academy. Again, it's a free service that the College Board developed so that people wouldn't have to do preparation. You can do it at another place online. You could do it with us. You could do it in the library here with SAT books, but you have to do it because it's not a test you can walk into and do well on without preparing. And that's it. And then, does anyone have any questions?